What's up, guys? This particular video is about how to discharge debts. Now, we've already made a video on discharging debt, and as always, I am not held responsible. This is only EDU. You have to do your own vetting of the information to make sure that you are compliant with your scenario, your statuses, state laws, etc. So this is going to be a general overview, similar to the other video, but we're going to add in some new information. So when discharging a debt, a lot of people will utilize or make mention of HJR 192, which is Public Law 73-10, which is in fact one of the ways to discharge, because it states that all U.S. debts are obligations of the U.S. Treasury. So this is true because your legal name is a U.S. person. And so as a U.S. person, it is property of the U.S. So there's a way to discharge that. Now, some people will copy that code and send it in with a letter stating that I authorize you to discharge this. And that has been very successful for many people. Now, do all places, companies have to accept that? Well, I've never seen anything written where it says that they have to by law. So essentially, it's like you have to convince them of that. They can, but it's kind of like, if you owe me money, do I have to forgive it because you asked? No, you don't have to do that. It's not written in the contract. Is it written in the contract? Okay. So yes, you can simply send them a letter requesting it with your account number, your information, because they have your name and social. And at the end of the day, all debts can be discharged, okay? Because we're not dealing with lawful money, which has an intrinsic value. It's all fiat. It's not backed by anything. It's paper. It is a illusionary or illusion. It is a faith system that it actually has a value, but it's really monopoly money. There's no money behind it. And don't worry, eventually they will be getting rid of it because they want to move to all digital so they can keep a closer eye on you. But I mean, provide you with quicker ways of being able to buy your things by just using your thumb or your eye or your biometrics, because that's where it's going to. Because then if they don't like you or you're doing something wrong, they can shut down your account and access to those things, and you're at their 100% complete mercy, because that sounds fun. So discharging is really just that simple, okay? Oh, but wait. Sometimes it also is about who you get that information to. Just sending it in is not really going to necessarily give you the greatest percentage of success. Most people have good successes will send it to the CFO, though he will never see it. It will always go to a special department with his name on there. And then those key people will pass along to the correct department. Some people have made mention that it is wise to find the indentured trustee, which is kind of like pulling teeth. And once you get to those parties, then you stand a greater chance of getting your debts discharged. Once again, do they have to do it? No, you're asking them, because you're asking the king. You put yourself in a scenario where they're the king, and you got to kiss their aspect in order to make this happen. Matter of fact, you also want to look into your contract to see what all options you have in there. And if an option's not in there, you can then use that against them and say, well, you never provided me with this as an option. One of the other ways people discharge is the promissory notes. Yes, same thing. You have to get them in the right hands of the right person. And then once again, they still have the option of accepting it or denying it. Now, according to the U.S.C, if you send it and they don't return it, that is discharge. If they have it and they keep it and yet don't discharge the debt, that is also considered discharge. However, even if you are successful and those scenarios occur and they don't honor it, you still have to take them then to court for theft and for failure to discharge a debt because you provided them with the proper negotiable instrument if the instrument was done correctly. Okay, there's a lot of things that have to go into place. And no, I do not provide detailed information on that. We do provide some files on Black Site 32. But even with that, you are still to do your own due diligence, and you are ultimately responsible for your actions. Especially because some people like to change, modify, do this, do that, blah, 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 blah. So yeah. So as always, with all things presented here, it's educational information purposes, and me, my channel, and anything all associated, do not assume any responsibilities, no risks, or whatever, et cetera, et cetera. All right. So one of the ways that some people out there have made famous is the 1099-C. The 1099-C is in fact a cancellation of debt. Now, educational information only. A lot of people out there talk about how to use these, and you guys are not reading the instruction manuals, which I've told you guys from day one to read. Stop listening to people on YouTube just telling you to do something, other than me right now telling you to read the things before you use them. If you get the instruction manuals for them, they're going to tell you what they can and cannot be used for. If you're not sure what something like abandoned property might mean, look at who owns the file, who created it, probably the IRS, and call their helpline and ask them what all things are considered or fall underneath abandoned property. If you're not happy with their answer, talk to their boss. Tell them to provide you with something in writing. Their legal definition of what abandoned property is. Okay, do you see where I'm going with this? Good. Now, when it comes to the 1099-C, those are supposed to be used by lenders. Typically, a lender is somebody who has provided the capital for something. Okay, so if you're going to try to use a 1099-C and you're filling it out and you're trying to say you're the lender, well, they're going to show their paperwork that shows that they, in fact, are the lender. So you cannot force them to use that. But can you put your information in there as the borrower and send that to them and request that they cancel that debt? Yes, you can do that. But that doesn't mean they have to do it. They can still try to hound you for it. And also you need to look at once again, your contract to see what rights you have in there. If there's something in there that violates federal law, consumer law, except contract law, whatever, then yes, you can use that against them. Okay. So I'm going to show you here a little something, something. Don't worry, it's not that kind of a something, something. And it's not little. But I'm going to show you, as soon as I find it, got 1,800 gajillion tabs open. There we go. Hallelujah. All right, so here we're using ChatGPT. I use it right here. I know some of the gurus out there who sell 1,800 gajillion files are like, oh, this guy. Now, ChatGPT doesn't do everything, nor does it get everything always right. But I put in a debt discharge and validation letter. And here, it made one happen. I'm writing you formally to dispute the validity of the alleged debt you are attempting to collect, as well as to request the discharge of said debt pursuant to Federal Debt Collections Practices 15 U.S.C. 1692G. I received your communication, blah, 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 blah. So here, they're stating the amount of the debt, the name of the collector, 30 days to respond. Okay. And this is a good sample letter, but I wanted to go a little bit more. So here's what I did. I want a debt cancellation letter pursuant to IRS Forms 982 and Form 1099-C. So here it put together something where you're asking in good faith. It says, I want to emphasize that this request for debt cancellation is made in good faith and in full compliance with IRS guidelines and regulations. I believe that circumstances surround my debt warrant consideration for cancellation under IRS Form 982. Financial hardship. Pursuant to that form, I am on the grounds for debt cancellation. This is a financial hardship. Medical loss, medical expenses, job loss, etc. Income. IRS Form 1099-C. I request that in accordance with IRS regulations, you provide me with a Form 1099-C that reflects the cancellation of this debt. Okay, this is it. And here they're saying you should add in any supporting documents like your bank account, medical bills, unemployment records, and any other relevant documentation. Even a sworn statement would help. These are your ways to cancel a debt. Otherwise, bankruptcy. Okay. Now, there's also what's known as an IRS insolvency worksheet. So, Wolf, what is an IRS insolvency? Now, remember, we already talked about that. Another term that you can use to discharge debt is an offset or a mutual offset. Okay, you can look up those if you want as well. All right, so let me get this set up here. All right, we're going to go over to Google, or Go-Ogle as my friend calls it. All right, make it happen, Captain. Okay, so first we'll start with what is a mutual offset? Legal and debt. Okay. The right to offset clause allows parties to offset or cancel mutual debts owed to one another. All right, so let's just see now what an offset is, because that's a mutual one. Or another word is a set-off, okay? The deduction by a debtor from a claim or demand of a debt obligation. Okay, so you have offset or set-off. Now we're also going to look up, what did I just say? Oh, how did they? I just forgot the word. Okay, hold on, let me. Insolvency. That's what it slipped my mind. Okay, let me get back to the screen. Insolvency. A state of being insolvent, the inability to pay one's debts. It's a state of financial distress. So it doesn't say financial collapse, just you're distressed, in which a person or business is unable to pay their debts. Insolvency is when liabilities are greater than the value of the company, or when a debtor cannot pay the debt they owe. Okay, so now let's see insolvency, IRS form. Okay, so once again, 982 keeps popping up. Publication 4681. $1099-C cancellation of debt. So here you go. Now notice the words: canceled debts, foreclosures, repossessions, and abandonments. So there is something to the 1099-A about abandonments. If you're going to try to use these documents correctly, guys, I would suggest you get publication 4681 and look through here, which is what I've been telling you guys since the beginning, is to read. It's all right here, guys. They're not, in this scenario, they're not hiding anything from you. You just have to read. It's all right here. Abandonments, recourse debt. If you abandon property that secures a debt for which you are personally liable, recourse debt. So now you understand when they say recourse debt, they're saying that this is a debt, personal, you are personally liable for. If you abandon property that secures a debt for which you are personally liable, recourse debt, and the debt is canceled, you will realize ordinary income equal to the canceled debt. You must report this income on your tax return unless one of the exceptions for the exclusions described later applies. Non-recourse debt. If you abandon property that secures a debt for which you aren't personally responsible for. Okay, now remember, what is the straw man? That's all I'm going to say. Non-recourse debt, you may realize gain or loss, but won't have cancellation of indebtedness income. Exceptions, etc. It's all right here. Deductible debt. Okay. IRS insolvency form. Fill out this PDF. Once again, it's the 982. Reduction of taxes attributed due to discharge of indebtedness. What happens is when you fill this out properly, they're going to see that you don't have the money to pay that debt. So you are not supposed to, from my understanding, just use this because you don't want a debt. You're supposed to use it because you can show that you cannot pay the debt. Okay, even right here, look, mortgage forgiveness. You can look that term up if you want to deal with your mortgage. So those are all the ways that we know about legally to deal with debt. Now, if there's another way legally that I didn't discuss, you guys have it, you want to share it, by all means, let me know. Make sure the information is vetted, because I will then also vet it with the various agencies and whatever else, because we don't want to put out any misinformation, but we do want the truth. And if you contact an agency and they say you should not, cannot, do not use this form for those purposes, we're not going to go into names here about who may have been doing those things. You guys know who the key people are out there doing those things. If you do, then you're going to get in trouble. So if they tell you not to, then don't try to sneak it by. Don't try to be like, oh, the government or the state is stupid. And I can use this because this guy told me this way. Now, even if that is true and it can be used that way and they say not to, then don't. Because it's their stuff. And if they don't want you to use their forms that way, then you better not. Because they have nothing but time and money on their hands. And if you're using their stuff the wrong way, then they're going to give you a hard time. Fines, fees, et cetera, prosecution, et cetera, because it's their stuff. You can't, that would be like somebody coming into your house and telling you how you have to use, how they can use their own car. And then they let you borrow their car and then you use it the way you want to use it. How are you going to feel about that? Yeah, that's what I thought. Oh, it's not funny when it comes to you, but you want to use their stuff the wrong way. Okay? Think a little bit before doing said things. As always, if you guys need legal advice, find a legal professional. And they will guide you through. Try to find a reputable one and a good one, because there are some bad ones out there who can also still give you bad advice when doing legal things. Because in every profession, in every corporation, every whatever, fraternity, government, state of, DMV, Masons, whatever, there's always going to be somebody who wants to do it the wrong way, or is doing it the wrong way, or is doing it the wrong way. They don't even know they're doing something wrong. So you always have to make sure you take care of you and yours, because at the end of the day, when it comes down to defending whatever's going on, whatever you've done, that's on you. That's why on my channel, we provide education, information. And that's it. But you have to use it the correct way if you decide, if you choose. And remember, just because we are making videos doesn't mean that you have to do every single thing that I talk about on this channel. You don't have to watch every single video, though I wouldn't mind, because it really does help the algorithm. Speaking of which, hit that bell, like, and subscribe while you're here. Shameless plug real quick. But that's it, guys. Like I said, if anybody else has any other methods, tips, tricks, techniques that can stand the test of being vetted and is legal and that works, then let us know. It's what we're about here. Okay. That being said, take care, guys. Appreciate you. Have a great day. And Wolf will see you later.